This program is brought to you by Pussy Magnets.
Putting binge on your friends with a pussy magnet.
Welcome, my lovely lumps. Or should I say lovely labs? I'm so thrilled to have you here in the Labia Lounge. We're going to yarn about all things sexuality, womanhood, relationships, intimacy, holistic health, and everything in between. Your legs. Ooh, can't help myself. Anyway, we're going to have vag loads of real chats with real people about real shit. So buckle up, you're about to receive the sex ed that you never had and have a bloody good laugh while you're at it. Before we dive in, I'd like to respectfully acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which I'm recording this, the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation. It's an absolute privilege to be living and creating dope podcast content in Naarm, and I pay respect to their elders past, present, and emerging. Now, if you're ready, let's flap and do this. Oh my God, is there such thing as too many vagina jokes in the one intro? Whatever, it's my podcast. I'm leaving it in.
Don't panic, you're not broken. Your sex education was a piece of shit. Get your flaps out and pull up a couch. It's the Labia Lounge.
All right, Yang, I'm coming at you with some more live recordings from another festival. I set up the Labia Lounge live at a day festival called Summer of Love by Culture Jam, and it was loads of fun. We got to work out the new gazebo. It was absolutely pouring with rain all day, which was a bit of a bummer, and you'll definitely hear the sound of the rain on the gazebo above us. But we created a pretty cozy little space in there, and I had lots of different punters come up and share vulnerably with me and tell me some stories. I asked a series of questions to most people. This week's episode is going to be focused on all of the answers that I got to the question, what's the most embarrassing thing that's happened to you during sex? Sprinkled in a couple of TMIs and sandy clams, classic segments. And then in the next installment or two, there'll be other questions that I asked on the day around the most debaucherous thing they've ever done, what they think is missing in the average sexual encounter, and what their first time sex experience was like, among some fun other little things. So you can look forward to that. And I will just warn you that the sound quality is not amazing. I'm still trying to wrap my head around the tech side of things and kind of just making it work on the fly. So I actually fucked up on the day and forgot my headphones. So I was not realizing that I wasn't holding the microphone close enough to my mouth. So most of the guests you can hear pretty clearly. I'm a lot harder to hear. I had to cut out really big chunks of some fucking great discussions because you just couldn't hear a single thing. So that's a bit of a shame. Apologies in advance for that. If, we had a good convo and you don't see it featured in here, it might have been because I had to cut it. And I'm spewing because I said some fucking great stuff that day and you just can't hear it. But there's still some awesome stories and shares from guests of the Labia Lounge. So I hope you enjoy.
All right. What's the most embarrassing thing that's happened to you during a sexual encounter?
Oh no, I was hoping you wouldn't ask that one. Feel like there's two things, but now that I look back on them, they don't feel embarrassing because I've done. But they were at the time. Yeah. So it was like the first time I properly orgasmed. Yeah. And I'd broken up with my previous partner and I lost my virginity to him. Yeah. Slept with this guy I always had an interest in. He's like a fair few years older than me. And I was orgasming and I was like, what the fuck is this? And I freaked out.
Had you orgasmed on your own before?
Not like that. Like maybe just like tinkly or I was a late bloomer. So I would have been at this stage I was 21 maybe. And I was coming really hard and then freaking out because I was like, what is this experience? And I ejaculated.
Nice.
And I just felt so embarrassed because I not only did I not understand what was happening, it was, and still to this day, I'm 10 years later or something, I'm still now I understand that process for me. Yep. But beforehand, the first time, I was just like, this is so powerful, I don't know how to control it. I was out of control. And thank God, he was very familiar with this sort of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was definitely one of the most embarrassing things. I was freaking out. But it was hot as well. Now I look back, I'm like, oh, that shit was hot.
Handled it well, because like I hear this story, or actually literally someone on the couch just before was saying like that kind of thing happened to them, and the partner was like, did you just piss? Or like,
Yeah.
I hear that a lot.
Oh God, yeah.
Where like the partner hasn't reacted.
Reacted.
Well, and then it just fucking shames you and makes you feel really traumatized.
Yeah.
Not be able to squirt in the future, or like have a bit of shame around it. Yeah.
I was really grateful to have someone who understood what that was, because I didn't, and I freaked out, and he had to hold me in that, coach me through it, and it was really beautiful. And yeah, that was the first early days of like, wow, what an orgasm. Sex can be really pleasurable. Yeah, because before that I was like, I was just not a fan of sex. I was like, for a good year and a half, I was like, I don't like this. And the other embarrassing time would have been when I, what do you call it, queefed or quaffed? Queefed. And I was, and I thought, that was really, and it was someone new. So it was not like an intimate relationship. And I was like, what the fuck was that?
I swear, because the first time that happened to me, it's like very rarely happened, but when it has, it's like it's been because they're fucking me in a particular way.
Yeah, position.
Of air.
It's like they're pushing air almost inside you, and it's like...
And I find, like, I've noticed it's more like that really, like jackhammer boning, like in and out, like almost drawing it all the way out and then smashing it back in, like that porn sex, which is like so not a vibe for like my poor pussy.
Same.
Yeah, like I remember that happening with like someone new, and it was because they were like having sex in that way, which like I wasn't really used to. I was used to like making love.
Yeah. Grinding those hips in different directions, seeing what the sweet spot is.
Yeah, and
it's different.
I remember being so embarrassed because I was like, what the fuck was that? And actually it was his fucking fault because of the way that he was having sex. But anyway.
Yeah, it really is an angle thing for me as well. Like it does happen very rarely, but when I receive doggy, it seems to be often then. And I think it's like this angle.
Oh, that is a big question. Most embarrassing thing, I reckon it's probably when I was in Queensland. I was trying to have sex on the beach. I'd been at a kind of a day festival, had drunk too much, couldn't really get it up, and ended up just sort of coming pretty much as soon as, got inside. And it was embarrassing, but it wasn't, because I just started laughing. And she started laughing. We were both just laughing at this like kind of ridiculous, funny situation. But it's that thing of, as a man, there is a bit of that shame around like, you got to be like hard and strong and last a long time and all that kind of stuff. And like, those moments that happen, they still kind of catch on to that, like, this is really embarrassing, but it was actually it was all good.
He was slightly better endowed than the first person I had sex with, so he actually broke my hymen and I bled all over him, and I didn't realise. And then afterwards I went to the bathroom and just saw this blood running down my legs, and bless him, he just dealt with it and wasn't going to say anything. I was just like, this is fine, and he thought I had my period. And he was just being lovely about it, and I bled all over both of us and all of his which I was like, your first time probably having sex is pretty embarrassing, but not too bad. Yeah. I mean, and then there's all the funny noises that happen at different times, and funny sounds, and that have happened. Bodies are gross and wonderful and beautiful and silly.
You just gotta laugh at it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think most good sex sessions have laughing in it at some point in time.
Yeah, definitely. You can't take it too seriously, otherwise it's just not fun anymore.
Exactly. So no.
I mean, I suppose anal is anal, and if there's any poo there that's kind of unexpected, it's kind of that's.
With you receiving?
Giving, yeah. Like I've not too, dabbled in a bit of pegging and here and there, but not really my thing. But I don't know, maybe just haven't met the right person yet. Certainly open to, the powerlessness, like an ecstasy of all the orgasms that like people experience. Like it's quite powerful to be behind that, and I really love pegging for that. And it's like, well, it's signed me up for one of those orgasms. Like,
Great, thanks for sharing.
Yeah.
Seemed like that was maybe an edge for you for a second there. But
An edge. We brought it back around.
I think when I was on my period, and it was just like, when it gets like clogs and it was dark, and it was just like, I don't know, maybe it wasn't embarrassing as much as it was uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Because, but I guess embarrassing would be one time that I got a little booger in my mouth.
Like, what do you mean when you're making out? Or
Yeah, we're making out, and then I'm like, ooh, there's something salty in my mouth. Yeah.
I guess.
In nature, on a track.
You got caught?
Yeah, had somebody walk past while we were there. We just found ourselves in a moment thinking we were miles away from anything, and then we weren't.
It happens.
The person that walked past was very cool about it, and we were cool about it, and we were like...
Just gave you a little salute.
We had a smile on our face for the rest of the day.
I bet that person did too.
We all did, I'm sure.
Telling everyone.
Yeah, so that was a fun thing that happened.
Embarrassing. I don't really find sexual experiences particularly embarrassing.
Right! Even when you were really young and vulnerable and impressionable, you didn't get embarrassed over things that your body did or...
Sure, maybe pussy farts during sex are embarrassing when you're young, until you realize that that's just a thing and you just go with the flow and, try and make them louder.
Embarrassment is in my mind, first of all, so I guess the thing that I was most, I don't know if ashamed, but just felt bad was coming fast. Some people with penises have that issue. So I think that most of my life I would not say much. I would either try to hide it or say it when it happens. For me, personally, I was able most of the time to get back to it just after. That whole process of taking it off, maybe putting a new condom if we want to, if we feel like it, then that's also like a downer, because those moments as someone who used to really do that a lot, it breaks the mood, and then I feel a bit more and more like bad about myself because I cannot. So nowadays I talk about it a bit before, and right now actually with the right partner, these things are talked about and then are known, even though it's not the most still not the most comfortable thing I'm doing, but it's now known that I can feel free to do whatever, and whatever comes, and in a way it's about having the right communication with your partner, which is new for me.
I remember one time in my early 20s having sex with a male partner, and I was on top and I did I pooed a little bit on his balls during sex. It's just like a little speck of poo. Yeah. And I was like, oh, that's a bit embarrassing. But it was just wipe that away and keep going. That wasn't
a huge deal.
No.
You didn't make a big deal of it.
Nobody made a big deal out of it.
Right.
There was maybe 5 seconds of I can't believe that just happened. And then it was okay, move on.
You got a TMI for me.
I have a TMI for you.
TMI, we love it. Said TMI, we love it.
Alright. So I was still a virgin.
Okay.
And curiosity killed the cat as always. And I used to, so my parents had a TV in their bedroom, and when the parents were like watching the news in the lounge room or something, the kids would be hanging out in the bedroom. And sometimes you just get a little bit distracted. You just like laying in the bed getting bored and you're just opening and closing like the sock drawer and shit.
Oh yeah, it happens to me all the time. Okay.
And I came across my mum's sock drawer and I looked in and I found this long, hard thing that at the time I didn't realise when I picked it up, and then I knocked a button and it started vibrating.
Wow, this is such a classic I feel like I'm in a TV show right now. Yeah.
And so I remember taking a mental note of it, putting it back in the drawer, and then one day when my family were away, I went back to the drawer.
How old were you?
I was probably 14 or 15.
Yeah, okay.
And curiosity killed the cat, and I ended up putting my mum vibrator in me.
And was it good?
Well, again, I was still a virgin, so my hymen was there still, and I couldn't actually get it all the way in. I just remember it hurting a little bit, and then I think I tore a little bit, but just shoved it back in the drawer. I don't even think I wiped it or anything.
Whoa, well, that was going to be my next question. Some hymen blood on there.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Or
Mum.
maybe I did. Maybe I wiped it with a tissue or something. But I just remember reflecting back on that, like in my adult years. And like initially, I thought it was a secret I was going to take to my grave. But I've definitely told many people now.
Have you told your mum yet?
No. I don't think I'd ever do that.
At the moment, I'm afflicted by thrush for 6 weeks. 6 to 8 weeks. It's been since like November, and like I can't have intercourse at the moment. It's not going away.
Even with like all the fucking pharmaceutical shit.
Yeah.
Oh, no. All right, well,
It's like this. Look, symptoms are managed.
Yeah.
I'm not like in discomfort or like the constant itch or anything, but I'm just like it's still not.
It's out of balance.
Yeah. And I'm like, that's affecting me at the moment because I moved down to Melbourne being like, I recently, like 3 months ago, and I was like, I'm going to live my like, best
Hot girl summer.
eternal. Yeah. And
that's a fucking killer.
I'm not a fan.
Well, I've got a podcast episode about thrush.
Cool.
And UTIs and stuff.
I'll have
How
to check it
heal
out.
Naturally. I interviewed like a Chinese med doctor
Yeah.
who's like really specialised in women's health and hormones and vaginas. So if you, I'll send it your way.
Thank you.
Yeah.
At this stage, I'm like open to anything.
Yeah.
I just want it to be gone.
Fucking oath, dude. It's such a fucking killer.
Yeah.
I had like years where I had on and off kind of thrush and BV, like probably like every month for like years. And I just, every time I had sex, especially with a new person, it would just be fucked. Like it was really painful and just a constant, couldn't go camping, couldn't do festivals, couldn't I had to be so careful.
Hey, baby babes. Sorry to interrupt. I just had to pop my head into the lounge here and mention another virtual lounge that I'd love you to get around. It's the Labia Lounge Facebook group that I've created for listeners of the poddy to mingle in. There you'll find extra bits and bobs like freebies, behind the scenes, or discounts for offerings from guests who have been interviewed on the podcast. There'll also be, hopefully, inspiring, thought-provoking conversations and support from a community of labial legends like yourself. My vision for this is that it becomes a really supportive, educational and hilarious resource for you to have more access to me and a safe space to ask questions you can't ask anywhere else. So head over to the links in the show notes or look up the Labia Lounge group in Facebook and I'll see you in there. And now, back to the episode.
The most embarrassing thing... there's a lot of like embarrassment involved with like sexuality, I guess. A lot of like discomforts. I think like, just like not being confident, maybe not like have like erection. I'm trying to think of like a certain like event.
It's okay if you can't think of something as well. I think a lot of people would be able to relate to, like, you know, maybe not having or being able to keep an erection and then that feeling a little bit like, oh, you know.
Yeah, I think I get a lot of, like, not a lot, but I had a few times that, like, I completely, like, lost interest in, like, the middle of the... And then I just, like... I did not, like, know what to do, like, how to get out of the situation and all.
As in you were halfway through having sex?
Yeah.
And you lose interest and you don't want to be having sex anymore.
Yeah.
But you don't know how to say that.
Yeah.
Do you think that it's because, like, there's this expectation, which I think is completely wrong, but there's this expectation that sex isn't over until the guy has ejaculated. And so you were like, oh, I haven't come, but I don't want to do this anymore, but I don't know how to finish it.
Yeah. And then, like, it's just like going down even more, you know, because, like, I can't really... And I also don't want to, like, be disrespectful, you know, to my partner and... Yeah.
I've actually heard that from a lot of people recently, like that they kind of want to wrap things up and like finish, but they don't know how to get out of the situation once they're in it.
Yeah.
And then they're actually like both thinking that, but you don't want to upset or hurt the other person.
Yeah. I think it happens a lot, you know, when like a lot of people just like want sex. And they just like, okay, I have some interaction with this person and it seems like can be physical and they, okay, yeah, I want sex, but then like they don't really like having this like real connection, you know, like this soul bound, and then they just like, you know, like tick the box, you know, I already had sex, like, and then it's, so like having like really soul connection is, I realize it's like it's the whole thing.
Yeah. Do you think that's why you would lose interest halfway through? Because there wasn't a soul connection in those times?
Definitely, yeah.
I think farting. Like, I know it's natural, but it's like one of those things that you're always trying to hold in, I guess, and when it happens. But yeah, I mean, I think it's also a good indicator of like what your partner is like.
Sorry,
No, that's okay. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think it's a really good indicator of what kind of a person your partner is, how they react to that sort of thing as well. Like if they're just understanding and...
Have you had someone react badly?
No, not really. I guess it's just like sort of little looks that they give you that make you feel even more uncomfortable. But if they just ignore it or laugh about it, it's A-okay.
Do you prefer ignore it or laugh and acknowledge?
Probably just ignore it. Yeah.
Alright. I feel like I'm like have a bit of a giggle and acknowledge it kind of gal.
Yeah. I mean, I guess there's like different volumes as well that you can ignore, but then if it's really...
Totally, like
then you have to laugh. Yeah.
Okay. I actually do have an embarrassing one this could go in the podcast, but like, so this is years ago, I met someone on a dating app, and we chatted a bit, and then we're both kind of like about to go over to Thailand, like solo, and we're like, oh, hey, well, why don't we just kind of join up and go together? And so we hadn't even bought flights, like, but they were like, okay, we'll just like get on the same flight. And then we met up for the first time, like the day before this flight, and I was like, the chemistry, the attraction wasn't really there. And I was like, okay, well, look, you know, we had kind of said, like, look, if it isn't, we'll just go separate ways. And anyway, we got to the gate at security, and I had like a jumbo-sized lube thing, like, and you know, not thinking, not thinking like, exactly, like, no, like, in front of everyone, and the guy's like not discreet. He's like, you know, you can get it over there and stuff. And it's like, and so that was that. And then,
just like quietly
I think maybe she was pretending not to even notice, like, because we hadn't even, like, yeah.
It's a polite thing to do.
Yeah, it's a polite thing to do, yeah, absolutely, like, but the time, I got to use it with other people in that trip, so.
You got to keep it? They didn't make you?
Oh, no, I didn't, I got the same one in the, when I got to Thailand.
Right on.
Right on.
What's the most embarrassing thing? Probably like shitting the bed or something after anal and like 5 grams of cocaine. Probably that. Yeah, those drugs and those things. That's what happens. Yeah, that's
really.
Yeah, that's
Shit.
Yeah, literally.
Were you with someone that you felt like comfortable with, or was it like?
I say embarrassing. But I actually don't get embarrassed by things.
It's probably funny.
Do you know what I mean? Like, do you know what I mean? Like,
You're very liberated.
I'm very liberated. I'm sort of like, oh well, that's a thing that happened anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was someone that I was just having this like crazy sort of fling with. That I was traveling up the East Coast for work.
Yeah.
And so we'd get on the old Tinder and just find someone to have fun with.
Yeah.
And it was so funny. I'll never forget. Like, he walked in. And he like has an envelope and he just like slams it down on the coffee table. He's like, you have no idea how fucking lucky you are to have matched with me. I was like, mate, you have no fucking idea how lucky you are to have matched with me. And then like, because we both thought like we were just like the most fun person ever. And then like at the end of the night, he's like, okay, no, seriously, usually like I'm the fun one. He's like, but you actually are more fun than me.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Wait, but what was in the envelope that he slapped down on the table?
Full of cocaine.
Okay.
Yeah, and other drugs.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, so you met him at, or he met his man?
Yes. Well, it was funny because he literally basically said that he was used to always being the one that was like, he was always like, now this person's lucky to have matched with me, like I'm bringing the entertainment, I'm bringing the fun, but he was just like, oh no, actually you are a good time gal.
Yeah.
And I was like, I am. Yeah, so that was fun. And then the funniest thing was that I realized like afterwards, said something about like, oh, how do you, I feel like something about Facebook, and then we realized we had a mutual, and he goes, oh, how do you know this person? And I was like, that's my sister. And he's like,
uh-oh.
And he's like, I fucked her in a hot tub in Sydney, like whatever. And I was like, fuck off. So like,
was she as fun as me though? And
probably,
did she shit the bed?
I mean, probably.
No?
She probably was as fun. I feel like we're both fun people. But yeah.
It's funny because I wasn't embarrassed for I actually at the time, I remember when it happened and I squirted, and I remember kind of understanding what it was about, knowing it was normal for me, but the other person was really embarrassed, and that's what caused the shame. So I feel like I wasn't embarrassed for myself. I was uncomfortable that they were grossed out.
Yeah.
And I think that's a pretty common thing that happens for women as well, because men think it's weird.
Yeah.
And even if it was, like,
And then their reaction to it makes you feel like
shame. Shame. Something's wrong with me. Like, I should have said, or like, what does this mean about me and my sexual
Yeah, I know. I've had
being?
lots of clients that say like, oh, the first time I squirted was with a partner. He didn't know what it was. He freaked out. I felt so much shame, and I've never been able to squirt since.
Yeah, right. Because as they say that, don't they? Like, if you're not, it really only happens when you're completely relaxed and very safe.
Comfortable. Yeah, exactly.
And then when you want it to happen, it doesn't happen because there's pressure.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Excuse this quick interruption. I'm shamelessly seeking reviews and 5-star ratings for the poddy because, as I'm sure you've noticed by now, it's pretty fab, and the more people who get to hear it, the more people I can help with it. Reviews and ratings actually do make a big difference to this little independent podcaster, and it's really easy to just quickly show your support by taking that simple act of either leaving 5 stars for the show on Spotify, or even better, writing a written review and leaving 5 stars over on Apple Podcasts. Or if you're a real overachiever, you can do them both. That would be mad. If you're writing a review, though, just be sure to use G-rated words, because despite the fact that this is a podcast about sexuality, words like sex can be censored and your review won't make it through the gates. Lame. Anyway, I would personally recommend doing that right now while you remember, just to get on top of it and let me know you're with me on this journey. Thanks, gang. Enjoy the rest of the epi.
Ah, shit.
Far out, woman. What's got sand in your clam now?
Pew, 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 pew. Sand in my clam.
I have a segment on my podcast. You might not be able to think of something on the spot, but the segment's called Sand in My Clam, and I generally ask people what gets sand in your clam, specifically to I guess living in a patriarchal society and having a vagina and shit that you're just ugh,
Gosh, where to even begin? I think it probably it has changed as I get older. So I'm 44 now. I think when I was younger, it would have been I wouldn't say unwanted attention, but constant attention of the physical, of your physical form.
Yeah.
Whereas now I probably don't care. I don't care about that like I did before, so it's not an issue. But I think now, as a 44-year-old woman, it's almost like we're seen as kind of over the hill in some ways where our sexuality is concerned, and but actually, from what I know, women my age, we actually have grown so much more. It's the time for us to actually be so free and be so open.
Yeah.
And the stigma around that is pretty yuck, Not always, but I feel like there is. I've been dating for about a year now, and I feel like there is definitely a stigma with, women who want to explore but also want respect, right? Not just, and want to have intimate sexual connections that aren't long-term or permanent, but also want to be treated with all the beautiful things.
Totally. And you feel like your kind of standards are, you're way more discerning nowadays, and your standards for what you'll settle for and not settle for are completely different to when you were younger.
Yeah. Which is why so many women are single.
Yeah.
Especially in my age group.
Yeah.
Because we don't want what we wanted before.
Yeah.
And men our age, I have found, and it's such a stereotype and such a judgment, but in my experience, men my age who have been married before or in long-term relationships before now are defensive and bitter.
Yes. Do you know what? I've actually got I would say at least 4 or 5 friends that have been talking to me recently who are all between 40 and 50.
Yeah.
That are all fucking young guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
because they don't come with that attitude and that defensiveness. And of course we are completely stereotyping, and not every man is like that, just like not every person is whatever. But I think women who have got to a certain age and have done the marriage or even kids and then have got this time now to just sort of be a bit free, have worked on their stuff.
Yeah.
And a lot of men haven't. And so then there's this big gap when you go out with a man and you see that they're just you end up being they want a therapist. They want a therapist that they can screw, and it's no, I've been there, done that. No thanks.
Oh my God, totally.
Hence why you come to a festival on your own.
Yeah.
Because it's my toddler's with his grandma right now, so yeah. So those things irk me, and just not being able to find quality men who really are open to having a woman who is knows herself the way that she does. Oh, and another thing, completely probably off topic, non-vocal men sexually. It is such an irk for me, such a thing, and it's a real problem. I don't know why, but I have dated a lot of men who just are so, when it comes to intimacy, are so they watch way too much porn. They don't know how to express themselves. They're almost scared of their expression.
It makes such a big difference. When you can sense that they're so uncomfortable with being freely expressive, they're not very vocal or verbal, and they're kind of just this silent stoic type. How much pleasure an expression you're actually able to enjoy when you're bottling it all up. No, it's not what you want.
And then you can also sense when they orgasm that you are the release for every fucking problem in their life. That's why you have to be so careful with your energy, your your body, you know, in a way, because ultimately, and I'm only learning that now in my 40s, that like the heart and pussy connection, like one doesn't open without the other. Like I've never actually really allowed myself to wait for that. I'd like to be able to, but I'm a bit impatient, so I don't know.
It's a tricky thing, hey?
I don't know.
Yeah, it's tricky because there's,
Yeah.
I totally feel you. It is worth like waiting and taking your time, and like you don't have anything to lose by taking your time, but you do have a lot to lose by skipping ahead or rushing.
Yes.
But at the same time, like sometimes you're just horny.
Yeah,
or
yeah,
sometimes you just fucking, you know, you get pussy brain. And you're like, oh, what can it hurt?
Yeah.
If something else is getting sand in your clam, like I'm open to whatever.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like an obvious one, but like people who lack spatial awareness.
Oh, dude.
Yeah, like in a line, in a hallway, in a crowd. Like I noticed it a few times today at work, like people leaving the space and bumping into others and not even like turning around to be like, oh, pardon me. And that tends to come from more masked people. But in general, just like, I think it's a real power to be aware of your own space, your presence, your orbit, what's around you, and to like weave through the world with a bit of grace and awareness. And people who don't have that, it's a bit...
Good answer. Like weave through the world with awareness and grace. Fuck me. That's great.
And that's a wrap for this week's installment from Summer of Love. Next time, I'll be sharing all the stories that people told me about the most debaucherous thing they've ever done, their first-time sex experiences, and potentially, if we can fit it in, although it might be a whole other episode, I ask everyone what they think is commonly missing from the average sexual encounter. And there's some really cool answers to that. So tune in for more to come. Hey, me again. If you'd like to support the poddy and you've already given it 5 stars on whatever platform you're listening on, I want to mention that you can buy some really dope merch from the website and get yourself a Labia Lounge tote, tee, togs. Yep, you heard that right. I even have Labia Lounge bathers. Or a cute fanny pack if that'd blow your hair back. So if fashion isn't your passion, though, you can donate to my Buy Me a Coffee donation page, which is actually called Buy Me a Soy Chai Latte, because I'll be the first to admit I'm a bit of a Melbourne cafe tosser like that. And yes, that is my coffee order. You can do a once-off donation or an ongoing membership and sponsor me for as little as 3 fat ones a month. And I also offer one-on-one coaching and online courses that'll help you level up your sex life and relationship with yourself and others in a really big way. So every bit helps, because it ain't cheap to put out a sweet podcast into the world every week out of my own pocket. So I will be undyingly grateful if you support me and my biz financially in any of these ways. And if you like, I'll even give you a mental BJ with my mind from the lounge itself. Saucy. And I'll pop the links in the show notes. Thank you. Later. And that's it, darling hearts. Thank you for stopping by the Labia Lounge. Your bum groove in the couch will be right where you left it, just waiting for you to sink back in for some more double L action next time. And in the meantime, if you'd be a dear and subscribe, share this episode, or leave a review on iTunes, then you can pat yourself on the snatch, because that, my dear, is a downright act of sex-positive feminist activism. And you'd be supporting my vision to educate, empower, demystify, and destigmatize with this here podcast. Also, I'm always open to feedback, topic ideas that you'd love to hear covered, or guest suggestions. So feel free to get in touch via my website at freyagraph.com or say hey over on Insta. My handle is Freya_graph_YMT, and I seriously hope you're following me on there, because damn, we have fun. We have fun. Anyway, later labial legends. I'll see you next time.